Hi, and welcome back to Bonding with a Book, Chapter Book Edition, our third chapter of Boom, 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 the Unicorn Rescue Society. So let's start with our joke of the day. Joke of the day. What do you get when you cross a vampire and a snowman? What do you get when you cross a vampire and a snowman? The answer is you get frostbite. So that's our joke of the day. When you cross a vampire and a snowman, you get frostbite. We just finished chapter 2, and we've met a lot of interesting characters. Let's talk about those characters. Our main character is Elliot. Elliot is the main character of our book. It is his first day at school, and he's super, super nervous. Does anybody remember how long ago school started? Was it yesterday? No. Was it last week? Nah. Oh, you're right. School started 3 weeks ago, and this is Elliot's first day of school, and he's feeling very, very uncomfortable and nervous. And to top it all off, they're going on a field trip today. Field trips are supposed to be exciting, but Elliot is super nervous. But we meet a lot of interesting people on this school bus. So let's talk about that. We meet Elliot. What do we know about Elliot? I'll let you go first. It's his first day of school, yep. And he's nervous, yes. And he meets a lot of interesting people on the bus. And he talks to himself in his brain. I do too. It's amazing, right? And then we meet Bald Boy Who Farts. Oh, he's so nasty. Okay, so we have the Bald Boy Who Farts. Who knows the other one? The girl. She's sitting there. Elliot doesn't sit with her. What does she do? Oh, yeah! She's digging up her nose. Ew! And then we finally meet, who do we meet? The cool rocker at the back of the bus. She's sitting way back there. And she's rocking with her explosion of twists in her hair and her matching jean jacket and singing to herself. Oh, you're right. We meet Uchenna, and they sit next to each other. And we move on to chapter 2, in which we meet Mrs. Vole, this squeaky voice teacher that looks like a mouse. And then we meet the tall, mysterious Dr. Fauna. Right. So, chapter 1 and 2, we got a lot of great information. But now we're going to get into chapter 3. And like with all of our readings, we want to start thinking along the lines of the book. So let's check out what our pre-thought of the book should be. Chapter 3. Before we read thought, what is it? I'd like you to think for a few seconds. What's the most interesting conversation you've had on a school bus? Because right now, we've got Elliot and Uchenna they're sitting together. They're eventually gonna talk, right? At least we hope. That would be a very boring book if they don't. But what's the most interesting conversation you've had on a bus? Just something to keep in your mind. You don't have to tell me, but if you want, I'll listen. Tell me all about it. Cool. That sounds very interesting. And then our next thought is, what is your favorite snack to eat daily and why? Does somebody at home make it for you? Is it bought at the store? It's just a few things to think about in your head as we are getting ready to go into our next chapter. Or our question we're going to be thinking about at the end of the thought is, do you believe that unicorns and other mythical creatures, do you believe that they're real? Let's see what happens with Elliot and Uchenna. Chapter 3, Unicorn Rescue Society. Chapter 3. The bus drove from their school down the highway. They passed a big building with a maze of pipes and tanks and vats attached to it. Hundreds of chimneys spewed smoke high into the air. Across one big white vat ran the words, "Schmoke Industries, making the world the way we want it to be." Elliot reached below his seat and dug through his backpack. He pulled out a bar wrapped in shiny foil. "What's that?" Uchenna asked. "It's a snack bar." Elliot held it out to her. It looked like nuts glued together with honey. My mom and grandma make them for me. This is from my mom because it doesn't have raisins. My grandma always puts raisins in the bars she makes. Interesting. Elliot eyed Uchenna skeptically. Do you really think it's interesting, or are you just being sarcastic? No, I think it's interesting. Grandmas are wrinkly usually. Raisins are wrinkly always. Coincidence? Of course not. No, I definitely think it's a coincidence. Uchenna pondered the thought for a moment. Nah. No way. Conspiracy. She started drumming on the back of the big green seat in front of them. Her hands picked up speed, thumping with her left, tapping with her right, and then, to Elliot's great surprise, she started to sing, quietly and melodically. Old ladies are like raisins, not just because they're sweet for tasting. Some are brown, some are golden. All of them are wrinkly, and most of them all are amazing. Uchenna stopped singing. Old ladies are sweet and tasting, Elliot said. Yeah, that part needs work, Uchenna muttered. The big yellow bus pulled into a dirt parking lot. There were no other cars or buses there. The children filed off and stood in a clump. Pine trees, tall and crooked and scraggly, stood in a line around the edge of the parking area. The wind blew dusts into their face. Miss Bowles said, and someplace a dog woke up. It's time to follow Professor Fauna. The professor led the group to the beginning of a trail. An old map, tattered, yellowed, and torn straight through the middle, was pinned to a crumbly plywood bulletin board. Elliot stopped and squinted at the map. What are you doing? Uchenna asked. I like to memorize maps when I go somewhere new, so I know how to escape, how to make an escape, Elliot replied. Why would you need to make an escape? Uchenna asked. You never know. How true! A deep voice from behind them. They spun around, and the professor was peering down from over his weed-like eyebrows. You may indeed need to make an escape from the Pine Barrens, for they have said they can be deadly. But don't bother trying to memorize the map. Between the many forkings in the roads and the fire cuts that look like roads that are not, it is almost impossible to find your way out. It's almost like a trap. Professor Fauna smiled at them broadly and then suddenly turned away. Elliot and Uchenna watched the professor start for the woods. Why would he say that? Elliot asked. Teachers are supposed to be reassuring. That was the opposite of reassuring. Uchenna just stared after the professor, shaking her head. They say his office is a torture chamber under the school. No one's allowed in, not even the janitors. Whoa! Also, she added, I heard he believes in unicorns. Whoa! That chapter was very interesting. Everybody got off the bus, and now we are in the Pine Barren Woods. We've seen the old tattered map. Elliot's trying to memorize it. He's trying to put it in his brain and lock it into place. And boy, oh boy, oh boy, oh boy, that Professor Foulnut is a nutcase. He says you could get lost. And his thought was dot, 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 forever. What do you think? Question that we wanted to end with and think about at the end of our chapter was right here. It's the end of the chapter. Do you believe in unicorns and other mythical creatures? Do you believe they are real? I know what I think. I'd love to hear what you think. Let me know. And that is the end of our thought, but you have to make chapter 4 predictions. We can never, ever, ever end a chapter without thinking, what's gonna happen next? So, what do you think is gonna happen next? Do you think they're gonna go out into the woods and they're gonna fall and go off some off-beaten path and they're gonna disappear and not know anything? Are they going to follow the crowd and have a wonderful school trip and they're gonna go back to school and learn something cool? What is going to happen? I can't wait to read it or hear from you. So let me know what you think is going to happen. And that, my friends, is the end of chapter 3. Can't wait to read with you in chapter 4. Bye.